The silence is the strangest part. When you come home, you expect something, noise, celebration, anger, anything. But what you get is silence. People look through you, their eyes just sliding off, afraid to ask. They don't know what to say, and you don't know how to tell them. You don't know how to explain that you're not the same kid who left. You don't know how to tell them about the smell of the jungle, or the sound a mine makes, or about the best friend you left behind. My story didn't begin in the jungle. It began on the cracked sidewalks of the south side of Chicago, with my best friend Leo. I grew up in a two-flat. My old man bought after saving every dime he ever made at the steel mill. He was a furnace tender. Came home every night covered in soot, smelling like sulfur, but he was proud. We were the first black family to own property on that street, and you felt those eyes on you. Not all mean, but all watching. My father served in Korea. He never talked about it, but he had a military bearing. He'd tell me, Marcus, you stand straight. You look a man in the eye. Don't matter what he thinks of you. He'll respect you. I come from a big family. All military, uncles in the army, cousins in the Navy. It was just what you did. Me and my best friend, Leo, we were inseparable. We grew up on the same cracked pavement, playing ball till the streetlights came on. In the fall of '68, we were both 18, fresh out of high school, and the draft lottery was breathing down our necks. We didn't want to go. We'd watch Walter Cronkite on the news every night, see the numbers, see the caskets. We had a plan. Leo said, Spoon, they called me Spoon, 'cause I was always stirring things up. Spoon, we're gonna join the Air Force. We'll be mechanics. We'll fix planes, see the world, and we won't be crawling in no mud. It sounded like a genius plan. So me and Leo, we walk down to the recruiter's office downtown. We walk right past the Army guy and the Marine screaming at some kid, and we go to the Air Force desk. The recruiter was this clean-cut sergeant. Looked bored. He looked at our papers. You two graduate? Yes, sir, we said. He sighed. Well, that's good. But my mechanic school has a 2-year waiting list. I can put you on it and you can just hope your draft number doesn't come up before then. We looked at each other. 2 years, we'd be drafted in 2 months. As we turned to leave, the Army recruiter, who'd been listening, calls out, Hey kids, come here. He was a sergeant first class, ribbons all over his chest. He had a different kind of energy. Air Force got you on a waiting list? Yes, sir, I said. He smiled. I can have you on a bus to basic training by next Tuesday. The Army's got plenty of jobs. You'll see the world. You'll be heroes. He looked right at us. And you can go together. Buddy system. That's what sealed it. Going together, we figured, as long as we had each other, we could handle anything. We signed the papers. 2 weeks later, we were on a bus to Fort Polk, Louisiana. Tigerland, they called it. The humidity at Fort Polk was just a preview of what was to come. Our drill sergeant was a tall man from Alabama named Sergeant Cross. The first day, he stood us in formation and said, Look to your left. Now look to your right. By the time this is over, one of you will be gone. One of you will be wounded, and one of you might make it back the way you left. Don't you dare call yourselves men. You are recruits. You are nothing. They broke us down. They shaved our heads, took our names, and rebuilt us as soldiers. Me and Leo, we stuck together. When I was ready to quit on a 10-mile march, he'd grab my pack. When he couldn't get over the wall on the obstacle course, I'd be at the top, pulling him up. If you're finding meaning in this journey, it would mean a lot if you'd subscribe to the channel. We share these stories because they matter, and because they deserve to be remembered. After basic, we were sent to advanced infantry training at Fort Ord, California. That's where our luck ran out. I came down with dysentery. Bad. The kind that puts you in the hospital for 2 weeks. When I got out, Leo's unit had already finished training. He was shipping out. I got recycled into a new platoon. I saw him one last time, at the processing center. He looked different. Harder, but he was still Leo. He grinned. Spoon. You crazy bastard, you trying to dodge the war getting sick? We hugged. It was awkward. in our uniforms. "I'll see you in country, man," I said. "I'll be right behind you. We'll find each other." "You bet your ass," he said. "Stay low." He boarded a bus. I never saw him again. I finished AIT alone and got my orders. 1st Cavalry Division, Airmobile. I flew out of Travis Air Force Base on a chartered Flying Tiger Line jet. It was full of guys all 18, 19, 20 years old. Nobody was talking. You could hear the engines whine, and that was it. We landed at Bien Hoa Air Base. When that plane door opened, the heat and the smell hit me. That wet wall of heat and a smell, jet fuel, damp earth, and something sweet. Too sweet. I was a replacement, a newbie. You get assigned to a unit that's already been in the field, a unit that's already lost people. I was assigned to Alpha Company, 1st of the 7th Cav. They flew me out on a Huey chopper to a landing zone called LZ English. The first few weeks were a blur of patrols, humidity, sea rations, and leeches. You learn quick. You learn to walk different. Listen different. You learn the difference between a twig snapping and a bolt clicking. I knew Leo was in country somewhere. He was with the 101st Airborne, the Screaming Eagles. I knew they were operating somewhere north of us. Every time we went to a rear base for supplies, I ask. Go to the clerks, the supply sergeants. "You know where the 101st is? 3rd Brigade." Most of them just shrugged. "They're in the bush, man. Everybody's in the bush." Then one day, at a larger fire base called the Dog's Head, I got lucky. A supply sergeant was checking a manifest. 101st? "Yeah, Charlie Company's on that ridge over there." He pointed west. "They're running ops, but their command post is on Hill 411. You might catch 'em if you can hop a supply bird." I had my M16 on my shoulder. I went straight to the chopper pad. A Huey was dropping off mail. I ran to the crew chief. "Where you headed?" "Hill 411, then back to English." "I gotta find my friend," I yelled over the rotor wash. "He's with Charlie Company." The crew chief looked at me, then nodded. "Get in. Don't make it slow." I jumped in. The chopper lifted, and we skimmed over the jungle. 10 minutes later, we landed hard on a muddy hilltop fire base. Sandbags, artillery, guys in dirty fatigues. I jumped out. "Charlie Company," I yelled. A guy pointed. I ran down the trench line. I was passing foxholes, guys cleaning rifles, writing letters. I asked one guy, "You know a guy named Leo? Leo Washington?" The guy looked up. "Leo? Yeah, man. He's right over there in that hooch." I walked over to a 2-man tent. A hooch. I looked inside. He was sitting on a cot, cleaning his MS-16, stripped to his t-shirt. He had no idea I was even in the country. I just stood there. "Leo." He froze. He looked up, his eyes wide. He didn't believe it. "Spoon," he whispered. Then he yelled, "Spoon, you crazy son of a—" He jumped up and ran at me. We grabbed each other, hugged right there in the mud, pounding each other on the back. We were 2 kids from the south side of Chicago, standing on a random hilltop in the middle of a war, halfway around the world. We only had about 20 minutes. He told me he was a tunnel rat, one of the guys who had to go down into the Viet Cong tunnels. It was the most dangerous job there was. I told him I was a rifleman. We shared a warm canteen of water, promised we'd meet up in Saigon when this was all over. "You stay safe. You hear me?" he said, grabbing my shoulder. "Don't you go being a hero, Spoon." "You first," I said. "You're the one crawling in holes." The chopper pilot yelled. I had to go. We hugged one more time. "See you back in the world, Leo." "Back in the world, Spoon." I got on the chopper. As it lifted, I saw him standing there getting smaller and smaller, till he was just part of the hill. That was the last time I ever saw him. About a month later, I was back at LZ English. A mail clerk handed me a letter. It was from my mom. I opened it. Tucked inside was a folded newspaper clipping from the Chicago Defender. A small photo of Leo in his high school graduation gown. "Hometown hero killed in action." I just sat down on my pack. I couldn't breathe. The world just stopped. He'd been killed 2 weeks after I saw him. An ambush in a tunnel complex. I went to my first sergeant. I need to confirm something. He looked it up. Washington Leo. 101st. Yeah, kid. He's on the list. KIA. I'm sorry. I walked away. I didn't cry. You couldn't. There was no time. You just packed the grief down, deep into a cold, hard knot in your stomach, and you went on the next patrol. The war changed after that. It wasn't an adventure anymore. It wasn't a duty. It was just survival. It was about getting the man next to you home. In June of 1970, after almost 10 months in country, my platoon was on patrol. We came back to the fire base, exhausted, covered in mud. The word came down the line. RA and R quotas are in. Rest and recuperation. A week away from the war, they passed a helmet around. We each put our names on a slip of paper. The lieutenant pulled one out. Marcus Spoon, Washington. I couldn't believe it. The word came back. Where? Bangkok. Then the next word, when? Tomorrow. The next morning, I was on a chopper to the rear. I went to the dispersing office. How much money I got on the books, Sergeant? He checked. $920. Private? I'm going on R&R. I want it all. He counted it out in cash. I put my jungle fatigues in a locker, put on my dress greens, and got on a C-130 transport plane. A few hours later, we landed in Bangkok, Thailand. I stepped off the plane. It was chaos. The heat, the noise, the smells of spices and exhaust. The first thing I did was go to the PX. I bought civilian clothes, a pair of jeans, and a loud silk shirt. I felt human. I met 2 other GIs on the plane. Guys from different units. We shared a cab, a tuk-tuk. The driver grinned. You boys want a good time? I take you to a nice club, Patpong Road. We went. It was a different planet. Neon lights, music blasting from every doorway, girls calling out to you. We went into a bar. We started buying drinks. We were 19 years old, with $900 in our pockets, and a week to forget a year of hell. I met a girl there. Her name was Pim. She was probably my age, maybe younger. She worked in the bar. She was quiet, kind. For 7 days she showed me Bangkok. We went to temples, to floating markets. We ate food I'd never seen before. She didn't ask me about the war. I didn't tell her. We lived like there was no tomorrow. Because for us, there might not be. You spent every single dime. You drank, you laughed, you tried to cram a lifetime of living into 7 days. Because you knew that at the end of it you were going back. You were going back to the jungle. You were going back to the knot in your stomach. The patrols, the fear. And you didn't know if you'd ever get to go home. When I left Bangkok, I was broke, exhausted, and my head was spinning. 2 months later, August 18th, 1970, we were on patrol. It was hot. The kind of heat that presses on you, that makes your fatigue stick to you like a second skin. We were walking in a rice paddy, which meant we had to walk single file on the dikes, the narrow little walls of mud that separate the paddies. It's the worst place to be. You're completely exposed. No cover. Nowhere to run. I was third in line. The point man, a guy from Texas named Sanchez, was out front. Then our radio man. Then me. We were moving slow, checking every step. And then I heard it. A sound you dread more than gunfire. Click. It was quiet, but it was the loudest sound in the world. Sanchez froze. He didn't even turn around. He just whispered, "Mine," a bouncing Betty. A mine designed to spring up to waist height and then explode, sending shrapnel everywhere. "Get down!" our sergeant screamed. We all dove off the dike, into the mud and water of the paddy. But Sanchez, he couldn't move. He was standing right on it. He looked back at us. I'll never forget his eyes. Boom. The explosion was deafening. It felt like It felt like someone hit me in the side and the leg with a hot shovel. Just this searing, massive impact. I was thrown into the water. For a second, there was no sound, just a high-pitched ringing. Then the screaming started. I tried to get up. I couldn't. I looked down, my left leg. It was a mess. My chest was wet. I could smell the blood. It has a coppery, metallic smell. I wasn't crying. I was just shocked. I was alive. I was trying to crawl, but my body wouldn't listen. Sanchez was gone. The radio man was hit bad. Our sergeant was screaming into the handset. Dust off! Dust off! We need a dust off! We got 2 KIAs, 3 wounded, critical. We started taking sniper fire from the tree line. The guys who weren't hit laid down a base of fire, just firing into the jungle to keep their heads down. I heard the whop-whop of the Huey, the medevac chopper. It came in hot, ignoring the sniper fire. Those pilots were the bravest men I've ever known. The chopper didn't even land. It hovered just off the ground, the rotor wash blasting us with mud. They threw me on board. Then the radio man, the crew chief, a guy with a huge mustache, was leaning over me, yelling, "Stay with me, kid. You're gonna make it. Stay with me." I grabbed his arm. "My leg," I mumbled. "You're fine. You're going home." As the chopper lifted, I looked down. I saw my squad still firing into the jungle, and I blacked out. I woke up in a hospital in Japan, Yokota. It was white and clean, and it didn't smell like the jungle. A nurse told me I'd been hit by shrapnel. A lot of it, in my leg, my side, my shoulder. "You're lucky, soldier," she said. "An inch over, and it would have hit your spine. You're going home." I was there for 2 weeks, before I was stable enough to fly. I called home. My mother answered, "Mom, it's Marcus." She just started crying. "We got the telegram," she said. "They said you were wounded." "I'm okay, Mom. I'm okay. I'm coming home." They flew me to O'Hare Airport in Chicago. We landed, and they put us on a bus to Great Lakes Naval Hospital. I spent another month there, in physical therapy, learning to walk without a major limp. One day, they handed me my discharge papers and a one-way bus ticket to the South Side. I put on my uniform. I walked out the hospital gates. I took a cab. The cab driver didn't say a word. He just dropped me off in front of my building. I paid him, got out, and stood on the sidewalk. It was quiet. Kids were playing. An old woman was sweeping her porch. It was exactly the same, but it was all different. I was different. I walked up the steps, my leg aching. I opened the door to our apartment. My family was in the kitchen, sitting down for dinner. They all looked up. My 3 sisters, my dad, my mom. Everything just stopped. My mother was holding a glass of water. She just let it go. It shattered on the floor. My father, my dad who never showed emotion, he just stood up from the table. He didn't say anything. He just walked over to me, and he put his arms around me. He just held me, and I could feel him shaking. I was home, but the world was silent. When I got back, nobody in my family, none of my old friends, nobody ever asked me what happened. Not one person. They knew what was it like, or what did you see? It was like it never happened. People were angry about the war. They'd see my uniform and some would look away. Some would look at you with pity or anger. I knew and understand. I just stopped talking about it. I packed it all away, just like I packed away Leo. I got a job at the old steel mill working alongside my dad. I tried to be normal, but at night, I'd wake up, sweating, smelling the paddy mud. I found out about a VFW post, Veterans of Foreign Wars, a few blocks over. I went one night. It was full of old guys, World War II and Korea vets. I sat at the bar. One of the old-timers, a World War II vet, sat next to me. He said, "You look like you're carrying a heavy pack, son." "I just got back," I said. "Vietnam." He nodded. He bought me a drink. "It's different for you boys," he said. "We came home to parades. You came home to silence." We talked. I told him about Leo, about the dike. It was the first time I'd said any of it out loud. He listened. When I was done, he said, "You need to write that down, son. Not for them, for you. You write it down so you don't forget. So you can put the pack down." That night, I went home. I found a notebook, and I started to write. I wrote about Chicago. I wrote about Leo. I wrote about the clique. I called the story The Dike. I've been writing ever since. My dad and my uncles, they were from what they called the greatest generation. And they were. They truly were. But I look at the young men and women who serve now, all volunteers, and I think they're a great generation too. And us, the ones who went to Vietnam, we served. Almost 59,000 names are on a black wall in Washington. Names of kids like Leo, kids who went because their country called or because their number came up. We fought a war that nobody understood, and we came home to a country that didn't want to hear about it. I'm an old man now, but I'm still patriotic. I still fly the flag my father taught me to respect. But my patriotism is different. It's scarred. It's a patriotism that knows the cost. It knows what it's like to walk a dike in the heat, to hear that click, and to come home to silence. And it knows that the most important thing we can do is tell the stories. We have to tell the stories, or they'll be forgotten.